What's going on, y'all? Hope you're having a good night. I'm here to break down for you the election in Europe tonight. It's a little bit confusing. I didn't understand it at first, so I did the research, hopefully making it more easy for you to understand. So today and yesterday, or a few days ago, now the results are coming in. I think the vote was a couple days ago. They had a vote for the European Parliament, and I was confused at first because, of course, you have each individual country, and then you have the EU and the UN, and I always get confused. I'm like, what are they doing over there? And in general, so this was the Parliament of the EU, which is the European Union, and you have some countries like Great Britain or the UK, I guess the United Kingdom it would be, that wanted to leave the European Union, so they voted for Brexit a few years ago, and there's been a lot of turmoil in the UK. Theresa May recently stepped down, and they had this election, which was very, very big. I think the media is downplaying it, but I'll tell you what they're saying, I'll tell you the results, and we'll get into that. So this is the Parliament election for the European Union. So we'll start with the UK. They had a very, very big election, and the Brexit party so far has been crushing. I don't think the results are fully in, so you could check back tomorrow or the next day, but as of now, as of making this video, the Brexit party, which is a completely new party led by Nigel Farage, has 28 of the seats won. The Liberal Dems have 15 seats. The Labour Party has 10. Green Party has 7. Conservative Party has 3. And according to reports, 9 out of 10 of the first regions are won by Brexit party. I wanted to say I read telegraph.co.uk, and it's really funny how they try to downplay this or still push their narrative even though there's a big Brexit party win. Here's the headline. It says, European elections 2019, UK results. Brexit party wins Brexit party wins 9 of first 10 regions. Liberal Democrats triumph in London. Of course, the strongest word in this entire headline is triumph. So even though the Brexit party won 9 out of 10 and has the most seats, they're saying, but we triumphed in London, even though we lost 9 out of 10. Okay, whatever makes you guys feel special in the press. But Brexit party won 28 seats. That's plus 28 seats from the last election. That's because they're an entirely new party. They wanted to stick it to the fake conservatives and the fake right-wingers. That's what Nigel Farage did, so that's plus 28. Liberal Democrats at 15, that's plus 14 from last election. The Labour Party had a pretty disappointing result, which is led by Jeremy Corbyn, I believe. In the UK, they're down 8 at 10. They had 18, I guess, before. The Green Party is up 4 at 7, and the Conservatives are down 15 at 3. Theresa May ruined that party, similar to Justin Trudeau in Canada, how this is separate from that, but the Liberal, whatever they call them over in Canada, they're losing in every single district, and when he goes, he pretty much just destroyed the entire party, similar to Theresa May with the Conservatives there. So that's England, and of course, like I said, the media is going to downplay that and twist it. We'll see what happens. The results are still unofficial. I guess there's more to go. We'll weigh in on that as they go, or you could check out on your own. Let's go to France. France had a big win, what I perceive as a big win. I guess it's up to you. Marine Le Pen and the RN, which is the right wing, or as they would say, far right wing, whatever you want to classify it as, beat Macron's, I don't know exactly is the name of his party, Le Rem or Modem, I don't know what it stands for in French. Le Pen's right-wing party got 23.5% of the vote so far, and Macron's party has 22.5% of the vote. A lot of the mainstream media is calling the election for Le Pen. We'll see as results pour in. I think that one's over, but check tomorrow or the next day. It looks like in Hungary, the far right, as the media is calling it, it's probably just normal moderate right wing, but I'm not completely sure. They got 52.14% of the vote, and the left-wing Democrats got 16.26% of the vote. So they crushed in Hungary, and perhaps the biggest win, as the media is calling it, for the right, or the anti-globalist, anti-EU people, is Italy. Matteo Salvini, who did really well and won his election in Italy, won this one with his party 33.6%, and the second place got 23.5%, so over 10% above them. Nigel Farage had a good quote. I wrote it down. He said, he's the leader of the Brexit party, the brand new party in UK. He said, there's a huge message here, massive message here. The Labour and Conservative parties could learn a huge lesson tonight, but I don't suppose that they actually will. And just like I said with the headline, you could tell, Telegraph said, European elections 2019, UK results, Brexit Party wins 9 out of first 10 regions, Liberal Democrats triumph in London. That's what they do in the United States. You see the whole map's red. They say, well, Trump won the, he won the Electoral College, which is our voting system as of now, and we knew that, but we crushed in these cities. And it's like, well, to each their own, but I guess that's what the press wants to do. And it happens on both sides, too. It just happens a lot of the mainstream media is, I would say a little more left-leaning, or in Europe you could call them globalists, or they call themselves centrists. Of course, that's how they label themselves. We're like Macron. We're not too far left. We're not too far right. We're right in the center. Yeah, just like the central bank. They're right in the center, aka they want to control all of Europe, and they want to control the entire world. Let's move on, because a lot of the media, to me it seemed like a big right-wing and populist win in Europe. With the UK, that's a huge election. They've been talking for years. They had a whole television show with, I think, Benedict Cumberbatch saying, how bad Brexit was. Like, the propaganda's flowing. They didn't even get the vote done, and they're like, or they didn't get the results done. And they're pushing these television shows, trying to continuously push their message, and they got crushed by 14 seats. But CNN is saying that the populist surge has stalled. So they're saying, well, the right wing did pretty good, but not as good as they could have done. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't know exactly what people were expecting. But for me, I had pretty much no expectations. I am glad to see the, whatever you would call them, the globalist or centrist leaders like conservative Theresa May. I'm glad to see her losing, just to be honest. But the reason that CNN is saying that the populist surge stalled, although it's probably not true, is they're saying that the Eurosceptics, or the right-wingers as they call them, I guess sometimes they call them Eurosceptics, that's the new name, skeptical of Europe. It's more like skeptical of the EU, but they captured 24% of the vote, and I guess in 2014 they had 22%, so it's a 2% increase overall for the Eurosceptics, aka your Salvinis, your Nigel Farages, and such. And the centrists, this is what they're trying to sweep under the rug, but it's a pretty big deal in my opinion. The centrists, aka the globalists as some call them, or the puppet leaders who pretend like they're conservative like Theresa May, or Christian Democrats like Merkel, they went from 53%, which is a majority, down to 43%, and this is the first time that they're below majority. And in the European Parliament, if you don't have a majority, it's a lot harder to push stuff. Although I would say I'm no CNN or Reuters or Fox News, but I would say that the centrists, or that global European cabal, is on the fall, and countries are going to go back to governing themselves. And I think that's a great part about the United States of America, regardless of how you feel. We always had the First Amendment, which a lot of European countries don't have, the freedom of speech. The Second Amendment, right to bear arms against a tyrannical government invading force, or to protect your home, whatever you would like. And also, we had states. That's what used to be a good idea before federal government kept bloating. And I would say, even with a Trump or a George Bush, the right-wing people, it does seem, no matter if it goes left, federal government gets bigger, but it does seem like even, a George Bush or a Trump, it does seem like we slowly slip into that anyway, where the federal government just becomes bigger and bigger. But at one point, and still, we have states. So it's like California shouldn't have to be like Texas, shouldn't have to be like Florida, shouldn't have to be like Wisconsin. That's the great thing about us. Same thing with Europe. UK doesn't have to be like Sweden, doesn't have to be like Germany, doesn't have to be like, other countries from Africa or the Middle East. But with this whole centrist, or, globalism, or as they like to say, in some cases, liberalism and worldwide globalization, what they do is they say, we're all the same, we're all equal, we love women, we love these people, we love minorities, we love the LGBT community, and then they kind of use that as a shield to just take power. So they're like, we love the gays, we love the women, we love them. Let me implement a tax on all of Europe. Let me take control of all of Europe instead of just my country. No, let's try to dictate. And then it's like, whoa, like I'm socially progressive as well, but I see what you're doing. It's like, we need to fix the environment. I'm like, for sure, the oceans need to be cleaned. And they're like, clean the oceans? No, we're not talking about cleaning the oceans. We want to put a carbon tax on the whole world. And I'm like, that's not going to lower carbon emissions. Recently, a report came out of China that they're not following any of their orders, and they're like way behind schedule as far as how much they're polluting, and India's not great at that as well. We actually are doing a great job in America. If you look at the charts, we had a great couple years, but it's just like they always use a real event, and that's what I try to tell to my liberal and progressive friends, where I'm like, I want to clean the water, I want to clean the ocean, I want to get clean drinking water to everybody, I want to raise health awareness in the food and beverage industry and in the pharmaceutical industry. However, be very weary of social justice movements, whether it be the Women's March or whether it be the Climate March or the Science March or whatever, because they take something that you really care about, they manipulate it. Politicians are very, very wise. I wouldn't say wise, but very, very smart and deceptive when it comes to how they do it. They understand tragedies, emotions, and activism is how to really manipulate people. So they take something like environmentalism, which I really care about, and they manipulate data, they manipulate headlines to make you think that certain things are more catastrophic than they are, and then they don't actually want to shift the climate. I would say it's arguable that you even can do it when it comes to volcanoes and when it comes to the sun and when it comes to the earth and the oceans. We're not really in control. And the funny part about people that say we do control the climate, they never talk about the technology or the patents or the people such as, I don't want to name names, but China, you could just Google this. They can manipulate weather, as can many people. They can literally manipulate the weather. So it's funny that environmentalists, they always say humans can control the weather via climate change, but they won't talk about documented people who can manipulate weather in small regions, which is just a fact now. I mean, it's even in Wikipedia. It's not even fringe anymore. It used to be 5 years ago. Anyway, just be very wary of that, because that's how they're doing it with science. They want to use something that everyone cares about and wants to fix, and then they tax and take control. And that's, in my opinion, what the European Union has done. And I've heard that's happened with a lot of big organizations, companies, and political groups as well, is some of them started in a good light, not all of them, but some. And they just, over time, they just got too bloated and too much power, too much control. And with the EU, I'm glad to see people like Hungary, France, the UK, and others, Italy, breaking away from that, because I do think it's a good idea to Brexit like they are and like Trump does. Like, we're not trying to do what everyone else is doing. We'll work with you if it's smart, but we're not going to let Angela Merkel, Theresa May, and Macron decide what the United States does. That's ridiculous, and people in Europe are starting to wake up to it. So like I was saying, out of 751 seats, Eurosceptics captured 24%, up from 22%, but the big loss was Centrists, aka the we're going to control everything, 53% to 43%, below majority for the first time. They will try to downplay that. Germany, the right wing did actually really terrible. 28.7% to the Christian Democrats. Angela Merkel, I'm sure she's very, very Christian. That's a little sarcasm, but it's all good. The Green Party has 20.7%, so a huge win for the Green Party actually in Germany. It looks like they did pretty well all over Europe. So it looks like the Green Party had a little surge. The right-wingers or the Eurosceptics had a little surge. And the centrists, aka the Merkels, Macrons, Mays, the people who pretend like they're liberals and conservatives but really just want to control Europe and control the entire world, they're going down. So regardless of what CNN says, populism or right-wingism and even the progressive green left in some cases are gaining. Some people, they're lowering, but people are tired of the Trudeaus, the Merkels, the Mays, one way or another. And my personal analysis of it when it comes to Europe, we'll see what happens, because there are a lot of things that people care about. But one thing is for certain, is the mainstream media, I would say the cabal or the collaboration between corporate mainstream media, and I'm kind of disenfranchised with even right-wing mainstream media. They're kind of annoying me recently, but especially the fact when you look at the television, if you take out Fox News, all of the television's left-wing. If you take out, Breitbart and I like maybe 3 other news sources, most of mainstream media, New York Times, Washington Post, although there is Washington Times is more right-wing, New York Post, but they have a certain narrative they've been trying to push. It's like the Hillary Clinton, the Trudeau, the Macron, the Merkel, and that narrative just sucks. And people are starting to either sprint to the right wing, and they're starting to learn about mass immigration, taxes, healthcare, and, the right wing is gaining a lot of popularity in Europe, the United States, and especially Canada. They're crushing, and I guess Hungary, Italy, Australia, Brazil, among other places. And also you're seeing some gains, some losses in the progressive left. And my analysis on that is people don't like this. No one thinks you're the central. Like, you're only fooling yourself. So if you write for the New York Times or the Washington Post, or you have like a mainstream corporate job where you just pat yourselves on the back and say how liberal you are, you got 50 mansions, you love refugees, homeless, and immigrants, but you won't take any into your own house. You just have them, you're like, but who's gonna clean my stuff? And you're like, that's a little dicey. Like, they're not all doing, like, you get what I'm saying? They do that sometimes. They act like they're very virtuous, and then they say something that's like very sketchy and kind of ignorant. Anyway, that is failing, and the stubbornness and the arrogance from the mainstream centrists, I want to control the EU and the UN and the United States and Canada and the whole world, it's the jig is up, but you're only fooling yourselves, you're only lying to yourselves, your ratings are going down, your finances are going down, your political power is going down. It's a sinking ship. You could lie to yourself continuously, but the right wing is getting more powerful, Trump is getting more powerful, and the progressive, what I would consider more socialist, communist left wing is getting even a little more popular as well, because people just know that that's a lie. So either they're like, all right, Trump, right wing, lower taxes, more freedom, or like stick it to the man, stick it to the media, many reasons, I want jobs. Or they're going to the left and they're saying, I don't believe, clearly you're lying. I'm not right wing. I don't like right wingers. I don't agree with that. I want this type of healthcare and I want this. They actually have something there as far as what they want. Like in my personal perspective, the mainstream liberal left wing there's no substance, there's no agenda. I don't agree with the socialist, communist, progressive left wing, but I understand where they're coming from, and I'd like to compliment them when they do tell the truth. Like, sometimes I catch Tulsi Gabbard or Jill Stein really doing something that no one else will say, and I'm like, good job, they serve a purpose. But the liberal left wing, it's like there's nothing that they have no substance. Even though I disagree with the further left, it's like 30% of the things I agree with them on, 70% of the things I disagree with them on, and that's okay with me. I'm not trying to fight all the time. And that's why a lot of people on the far left, respect me, because I'm not as mean or hateful. But the mainstream, like, left wing, we were the center. Like, no one believes you. No one thinks you're the center. No one thinks you're honest. And people are sprinting left, sprinting right, based out of like, I know that's a lie, maybe that's the truth. I know that's a lie, I'm going to cling on to that. And it seems like to me in politics, what I've noticed a lot from being on social media too much is that a lot of people desperately want a leader. My buddy Jesse Lee Peterson, who's hilarious, check his YouTube channel, he's so funny. His interviews, he has a lot of discussions and debates, and it's hilarious. But he says, I like back in the day that we followed God. We didn't have leaders or social justice leaders, and people think that's controversial. But I like what he's talking about. I didn't need a leader. I had God. You could call it the universe, whatever you want. But nowadays, people, I notice even on the right wing, like if someone right wing does something that I think's a little sketchy or not honest, I'll call it out, and I'm not throwing them under the bus, but I'm like, I don't agree with that. And people get really mad at me on the right wing sometimes, and I realize this because, well, one, maybe they just think I'm wrong. That's fine, and I appreciate discussion, just not too much bad energy my way. But people really want a leader, and they want something to be true, and they want something to be right. And it's the same with the far left, progressive wing, socialist, more communist wing. They want that to be true, and they want that to be right, and they don't want to hear it because they know the right wing is not their vibe, and it's not their maybe strategy of how they want to make the country or the world great. They clearly know the Democrats and the liberal media are lying, and they, in many cases, dislike them more than the right wing does. The progressive farther left can't stand mainstream media, and they do really good work calling out the media, and I try to compliment them on that. But they're clinging on to like their agenda, where it's like, this healthcare is gonna work, this is gonna, because everybody wants a leader really, really, really bad. And to the media, to the governments, all I would have to say is, God bless you guys, and good energy your way. But you can't keep getting mad at people and lying, because no one trusts a lot of these government agencies. No one trusts the media. No one trusts the late night hosts anymore. Some people do, but those people are becoming even more unhinged because their whole reality shattering, and they're, like whether it's United States, Canada, Europe, it's either going down fast or it's going down slow, but it's not going up. And the other parties that are gaining are the Brexit parties, the Trumps, the revolutionaries, or someone who can pretend to be a revolutionary or pretend to be a outsider. Like, nobody wants the inside, nobody wants the center, nobody wants the liberal Democrats, and nobody wants the traditional standard. Everybody's tired of that, and we know it's a lie. It's just obvious. So overall, I would say a very, very positive result in the European election. I would love to see more countries stray a little bit away, because the European Union and the EU or UN, all of them, they're just getting a little wacky, and it's like you can't just you say something and they don't want to hear it. And to my brothers and sisters and all those in between, every million billion gender, my ice cream cones who have transformed from humans into ice cream cones and still watch my YouTube and Facebook videos, thank you for your support, and try to have some good energy and consider everybody and every perspective, and don't write something out. Don't get mad, don't get angry, don't get hateful. Because that's a big problem, is consideration is almost gone. And when you can consider what somebody's saying, that's the first step to understanding, to maybe agreeing, or at least taking in that knowledge or taking in that perspective, and then you can disagree with it there. But if you don't consider, if you just put up a wall and you just viciously hate anything else, it's going to be a tough road to success, peace, happiness, and being honest, which is important. I think if you get into politics, or you're an activist, or you spend a lot of time online, talking about this stuff like I do, I think the truth is important. If you're just pushing an agenda and you don't care about learning new information or listening to other people or changing your perspective based on overwhelming evidence, and being a little more nuanced and understanding, like, well, I do believe this, but not everything's black and white. Like, it's a tough, crazy world. The yin and the yang, the good and the bad. Some people are never going to learn or grow or agree, no matter how much money, tax money, you steal from me and give to them. Jokes aside, that's not really a joke, but you get what I'm saying. Just try to consider people, and overall, keep the stress down. Have a good day. Have a good week. Enjoy yourself, and understand that if you stare at the phone like I do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day or more, we're staring at a very small rectangle and not the entire world. And I understand why we do it. Sometimes the world is not so great, or work's not so great, or people around are not so interesting, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this on my phone. But just understand that, take a break like I did. You don't have to for a few days, but a little bit, and just try to stay positive, look for the good, and, be a little bit of light, like that considerate light, and, we can keep making strides in Europe and the world, and hopefully curb mass media and curb social media, like my friends at CrossFit, and other people who step up. We don't have to just, I get it, and I like a little fight sometimes. It's entertaining, but I think we're making a lot of progress in social media. I think we're making a lot of progress in other things. I know it shoots back and forth sometimes, but if we all kind of, hold our ground, we'll curb everything and get it right, because there are a lot of blessings as well going on. So congratulations to Europe, everybody who liked the results. If you don't, I don't know, cry me a river, and I'll get a boat, and we'll go rowing. I don't know. That's how we're gonna end it. Thank you for supporting. If you'd like to support my channel, I'll have all my links in the comment section or below the video in the description, or whatever it's called. Thank you to everyone supporting. If not, no worries. Sign up to my free email list if you'd like. If you don't want to, thank you for liking, commenting, and showing love. I'll be back to a more regular schedule, and I'll have more higher quality videos soon, as far as with the green screen and stuff. I have some ideas, but I'll be back on that. I've had a nice month of what I would consider disconnecting and doing the important things in life. So thank you guys for allowing me to do that. I appreciate you.